You know my book, The Libranos, What the Media Won't Tell You About Justin Trudeau's Corruption? You know that one? It's my best-selling book ever. Well, I just lost in court. Seriously, Justin Trudeau has been prosecuting me for more than 4 years over that book. And I'm shocked to say he won. The Federal Court of Canada just ordered me to pay the Trudeau government $13,000 because I published and promoted that book during the 2019 Canadian federal election. And several times in the court ruling, the judge says, I'm lucky I wasn't prosecuted with criminal charges. You can see the court ruling for yourself. It's 85 pages long, but we've put it on our special website we've set up for this case, SaveRebelNews.com. So the government is putting me on notice that if I write another book about Trudeau, and if I publish and promote it during the next election, I could be prosecuted criminally, and I could actually be jailed. Guys, I've got to tell you, I am writing another book about Trudeau right now, and I am going to have it out in time for the next election, which is why I need to appeal this court ruling, but not just for me, for the sake of freedom in Canada for everyone. This has never happened before in Canadian history. No other author that I've heard of, that I know of, has ever been prosecuted by Elections Canada for publishing and promoting a book that is critical of a politician. And there's a reason for that. The Elections Act specifically exempts books and the promotion of books from prosecution. See, Elections Canada claims that my book, The Libranos, was illegal, as if it were some campaign donation or something, and that I had to register with the government and tell them my business plans and disclose my finances to them and have them approve everything in advance, like a political party would have to do. But of course, that's not the law. The Elections Act specifically exempts newspaper editorials and speeches and letters and news and things like that. And it exempts books and the promotion of books. Let me quote Section 2(1)(b) of the Elections Act. The law does not cover the distribution of a book or the promotion of the sale of a book for no less than its commercial value if the book was planned to be made available to the public, regardless of whether there was to be an election. Well, the book was sold on Amazon for $14, which is its fair commercial value, and of course we would have published the book whether or not there was an election. We just timed it for the election like every other book about the election published by everyone else. There were 24 books published about Trudeau during that election, mine, and then 23 books that were pro-Trudeau. All were published at the same time, right before the election. But mine was the only book they investigated and prosecuted for 4 full years now. I don't know if you remember, but they actually had 2 30-year veterans of the RCMP grill me for an hour about the book, demanding to know why I didn't register with the government before publishing it. Seriously, remember this?
You accused me of breaking the law, but right in your own letter, you show that I'm not. So why am I here?
We are not investigating the book, nor the contents of the book.
You have the, and it says right here, or the promotion of a book. The promotion of the sale of a book is exempt.
We need to determine if the signage was actually promotion of the book, or was it political advertising?
There's 3 words on the sign. There's 3 words on the sign. You need help figuring out what they mean? You can't understand what that sign means.
And that's something that you may want to discuss with us or not, to see if the book had been planned ahead of time or for the purpose of the election. That's something that...
Hang on, planned ahead of time. What's the basis for that question in the law?
Well, the law says that the book is exempted regardless of whether there was to be an election or available to the public.
Yes, so what's this planned ahead of time business? You just made that up.
It's right here, sir.
Well, how can you publish a book without planning it ahead of time? Do you think it just happens spontaneously?
With the timing of the elections, for the purpose of the elections.
You know we have fixed election days, more or less.
I certainly do.
Question for you. I've answered a few of your questions now. Have you investigated any of the other authors who published books about Trudeau at the exact same time as me? Have you investigated John Ivison's book or Aaron Ware's book?
There's over 24 books that were published around that period.
You haven't answered my question. Have you investigated John Iveson or Aaron Wary's books?
I haven't.
Have you?
I haven't.
Yeah. Is anyone in your office investigating any other books about Justin Trudeau, or just the book that's critical of him?
When I said that no authors register with the government, and there were 23 other pro-Trudeau books published at the same time as mine, they told me they didn't care, and that if I didn't like being singled out, I should make a complaint about those other books, as if being a book burner like them was normal.
Today we're here about Rebel News Network Limited.
Oh, I know that. And I'm just asking you to confirm
But once
that
we're
not
done,
that not a single other loving book of Trudeau is being investigated.
but once we're done, if you believe that there should be complaints that are...
No, because I'm not a censor like you. I'm not a bully and a censor. I'm not a bureaucrat looking to justify my budget like you. I go out and earn my living every day, fella. You call in authors to grill them about a book criticizing your boss. Think about who you are.
We call the director of Rebel News Network Limited.
Yeah, who happens to be the author of the book. I think there's going to be a chapter about you two fellas in the next edition.
Yeah, no, that's not normal. Investigating and prosecuting and finding authors and publishers is not normal, and it's not what Canada's supposed to be. I think they really hated the fact that even though not a single mainstream media journalist reviewed my book, even though the big bookstores banned the book, and, well, we still made it the #1 bestseller in Canada through our guerrilla marketing campaign, which was the fun cover of the book, the Sopranos style, and we put it on lawn signs with the word, "Buy the book." That made them so angry. The judge even did something I've never seen in my entire life. She put a photo of the lawn sign right there in the middle of the court ruling. Have you ever seen anything like that before? I have not. Now, that lawn sign is just the Libranos cover, and it says, "Buy the book," but it had the funny Sopranos cover art. They just won't stop talking about that. I think it hits close to home for Trudeau. He's so corrupt. They're obsessed by that book cover. The Elections Canada cops wouldn't stop talking about it, and the judge mentioned the cover 8 times in her ruling. Look, there's no doubt. My book was censored and prosecuted because it criticized Trudeau. This was the perfect experiment. 24 books published at the same time about the same politician. 23 books were pro-Trudeau, and they were ignored, and my book embarrassed Trudeau, and Trudeau has spent $1 million hounding me over it. $1 million of your tax money. And now I've got to pay $13,000 to the government. But worse, they're hinting that if I do it again, I could go to jail. We've got to fight this. I'm the only person in history they're targeting for writing an election book during an election. And it's because Trudeau hates Rebel News. Here's Trudeau showing his disdain for us in the last election.
The only reason that I'm allowed to ask you this question is because today the federal court ruled that the government doesn't have the right to determine who is or is not a journalist. This is the second election in a row that the court had to overturn your government. Do you still insist on being able to make that decision, and why?
First of all, questions around accreditation were handled by the Press Gallery and the consortium of networks who have strong perspectives on quality journalism and the important information that is shared with Canadians. The reality is organizations like yours that continue to spread misinformation and disinformation on the science around vaccines, around how we're going to actually get through this pandemic and be there for each other and keep our kids safe, is part of why we're seeing such unfortunate anger and lack of understanding of basic science. And quite frankly, I won't call it a media organization, your group of individuals need to take accountability for some of the polarization that we're seeing in this country. And I think Canadians are cluing into the fact that there is a really important decision we take about the kind of country we want to see. And I salute all extraordinary, hardworking journalists that put science and facts at the heart of what they do and ask me tough questions every day, but make sure that they are educating and informing Canadians from a broad range of perspectives, which is the last thing that you guys do.
Look, I expect the worst from Trudeau. He's a corrupt disgrace who tries to punish his enemies. Elections Canada is a disgrace too. You know, they have spent 4 years and more than $1 million hounding us, but they refuse to look into cases of the Chinese Communist Party interfering in the election to support Trudeau. So obviously they're going to come after me. But what I'm really disappointed in is the Federal Court of Canada. They said that if I didn't like being singled out, I should complain about the other 23 books. Seriously, they put that in their ruling. What's wrong with these people? They actually said Elections Canada didn't punish me for the content of my book when they were obviously obsessed with them. Let me read to you a couple of the judge's conclusions. She actually said that being summoned by 2 RCMP officers for an interrogation and being hounded for 4 years and being told to disclose my internal editorial plans to the government, that is not a chill on political speech. Here's what she said in paragraph 196, and you can read this for yourself at saverebelnews.com. Here's what the judge said. Rebel News has not put forward any evidence of the alleged chilling effects, and I agree with the Attorney General of Canada that the specter raised by Rebel News of censorship, prohibitions on book publication, and government scrutiny of political writing is not supported by the legislative text of the subject provision. Really? Really? I was interrogated by 2 cops who demanded why I didn't ask for Trudeau's permission before publishing a book critical of him.
The knowledge that you would have or not have of the Election Act, the Canada Elections Act, when you are planning the book and the new third-party rules, because I believe there's some comments on your site as well about that, did you give any consideration of saying, maybe I should register as a third party for this circumstance, or maybe I shouldn't because of my interpretation of what I'm going to do? Or did you not make that determination?
Tim, I appreciate the question. Yeah, I absolutely did think about that at great length.
Do you want to share any of those thoughts?
Well, sure, some of them. I mean, I thought the day I register with the government to write a book is the day we no longer are the True North strong and free. And if Elections Canada's commissioners are stupid enough to prosecute me for writing, publishing, and promoting a book about an election during an election, then that's an important fight to have, because we need to roll back these pencil-neck bureaucrats and their blackface boss, and we need to remind them that we're still a free country. So I thought about it long and hard, Tim.
Look, I think a normal person right now would just pay the $13,000 penalty and stop criticizing Trudeau. That's the economically rational thing to do. Appealing this court loss will cost us up to $75,000. I mean, why not just pay the $13,000 and walk away and just not write about Trudeau during an election anymore? Well, I have an answer to that. It's because I'm a free man in a free country, and this is an outrageous infringement on freedom of speech and freedom of the press. And because if Rebel News doesn't fight against this, no one else will, because all the big book publishers in Canada take huge subsidies from the Trudeau government, and so not only would they lose their grants if they fought against this court ruling, they really weren't planning to publish anything critical of Trudeau anyways. They don't care. So it's just us, as it so often is. I've thought about who would be the best lawyer for this battle, and I think it's Sarah Miller. She's the young lawyer who has been fighting for Pastor Arthur Pavlovsky out in Alberta. You might recall he was convicted in a court for opening his church during the lockdowns. Well, Sarah appealed that loss, and she won a big victory in the Alberta Court of Appeal. She overturned the trial judge and set a precedent for freedom. I've asked Sarah Miller to do the appeal here, and she has agreed. We're going to file the notice of appeal in the coming weeks. But I need your help. Like I say, Trudeau has spent more than $1 million coming after my book, The Libranos. And you know he'll do it again for my next book. He probably is going to insist they prosecute me with criminal charges and seek jail time if I do it again. So I'm outgunned and I'm outnumbered. They're going to throw $1 million worth of lawyers and cops at me. Can you help save Rebel News and really help save me from a possible criminal conviction? And more to the point, Can you please help save Canada? Please go to saverebelnews.com, and there you can read this court case we lost. And right there on that page, you can chip in to help cover the costs of Sarah's appeal. Thanks for your help. Justin Trudeau just beat us in court. I have to pay $13,000 because I published and promoted my book, The Libranos, during the 2019 election. That's an insane court ruling, and we need to appeal it. Please help me at saverebelnews.com. Thanks.